Thank you, everybody. Welcome back to our regular session. We are still on 8.4 regarding the pickleball court. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to direct administration to send a letter to the Lake Crest Beach homeowners immediately, asking them to immediately stop using the pickleball court constructed on town property, abutting Lake Crest Court, and that the residents remove and restore the town's property to the satisfaction of the town where the court is within 30 days of today at their cost under the supervision of the town's infrastructure department. That is moved by myself. And I'm sorry. Seconded by Councillor Guerin. Any comments to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you for coming. Looking for a motion to receive the presentation.
Okay.
Okay,
We're good.
moved by Councillor Guerin, supported by, just to receive the presentation, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze, all in favor, and that is carried. Moving on to unfinished business, biannual bylaw report, January to end of 2025. We have Mr. Deemer in attendance tonight, and sorry about the wee little wait.
Through the chair. The purpose of this report is to illustrate the enforcement conducted among various municipal bylaws between January to the end of June 2025. The bylaw team remains uniform in its enforcement process from the beginning stage of voluntary compliance to issuing notices of violation, and in cases of continued non-compliance, serving owners with municipal work orders or POA charges. Bylaw enforcement has conducted investigations on residential, agricultural, and commercial properties throughout the municipality, as depicted in the chart below. A total of 382 potential violations were investigated during these 6 months. Of the 382 potential violations, 161 were based on complaints received from members of the public and/or council members. The additional 221 issues were investigated proactively. Of the 382 issues, 359 have been resolved and 23 remain actively investigated. For comparison purposes, the prior 6-month period has been included in the chart below as represented by the blue bar. The following chart shows a detailed breakdown of how the 161 complaints have been received. During the 6-month period, 52 complaints were received through the Report a Problem platform, 75 were received by phone, 32 were received by email, and 2 were submitted in person. For comparison purposes, the prior 6-month period has been included in the chart below as represented by the blue bars. The following chart illustrates the specific enforcement of various municipal bylaws. Red bars depict active cases and the green bars depict cases which were resolved to the satisfaction of bylaw enforcement standards. The bylaws shown in the chart below represent the most reported violations. However, they do not reflect all 21 enforceable bylaws. Of the 382 investigated cases, 170 fall under the Property Standards Bylaw 936. Property standards issues have a wide range. However, the main offenses consist of tall grass and weeds and exterior property debris. As shown in the chart above, tall grass complaints are received in high quantity, and due to town policy, work orders do not need to be issued since bylaw enforcement can remedy the violation without delay. Debris violations can take more time to resolve due to work order timeframes, appeals, and property standards committee extensions, which postpone direct action from bylaw enforcement. Lastly, the final chart below depicts the enforcement regarding short-term rentals. Over this 6-month period, 5 investigations have been launched into STR violations. Of these 5 cases, 0 have resulted in administrative penalties being issued. The data from the previous 6 months has also been included in the chart shown in blue for comparison. As always, the public is encouraged to use the town's Report a Problem online forums to submit complaints for investigation and documentation, and that link can be found at the tail end of the report. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Through you, Your Worship. The proactive enforcement, what is the majority of those I can't say complaints, but what are the majority of the problems that are arising from the proactive assessments there?
Through the chair, I would say the most would be parking and then followed very closely by tall grass and weeds.
Members of council? Counselor, did you want to speak? No, Counselor McGuire Blaze and Deputy Mayor.
Thanks through the chair. I just have a question regarding bylaw. When I understand we have two bylaw officers, is there do you guys always go out together, or do we have two separate units? Like, I just think that we should be seeing maybe double of what we have been because we have a new bylaw officer, and I don't think that I'm seeing that. So are two bylaw officers always together, or do we have double the workload?
Through your worship, now that we have two permanent part-time and one full-time being Mike, I believe I understand your question. We do have two bylaw officers driving together if we know it's going to warrant to have a backup in somewhat hostile situations. Bylaw officers will go along, one to the north, one to the south, tall grass, snow removal. But if it's property standards related where we're cleaning up a property or potential property, you'll see two officers together.
Follow up on that, because I witnessed during the Fun Fest two bylaw officers every day walking together throughout the fairgrounds. And I didn't think that was a good, useful time. And I'm wondering, did they get called? Maybe it's a separate question, but did they get called, or were they just checking things out? And when I questioned them about it, they were like, we're just making sure you're in compliance. So I'm not sure why they would be at a town event to make sure the town is in compliance.
Your worship, parking is a big issue at some of our fun fests, the Harrow Fair, Essex Fair, and so forth. Plus, I direct staff what to do, and I purposely have them go to these events to get exposure to the public, for the public to see them, and they can engage, questions, etc.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So a couple of, one question just based on the parking tickets. I'm wondering, are your tickets the same as the commissioners' tickets that get handed out in Colchester? Or are they not counted in this, or is that part of this report?
Through the chair, this is strictly what bylaw has issued in that 6-month period. I'm not sure exactly. I know the OPP as well as commissioners do hand out tickets as well, but I don't have that.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering if that was combined or not. I understand why you sent you guys out. I know I got a few complaints that they got parking tickets during the Fun Fest. So it was good to see that they were out writing those tickets, because some of those streets were absolutely ridiculous to get down. And I know that I've gotten more than a few complaints about getting parking tickets, and that's something we've been asking for, and I know the community's been asking for. I appreciate that you're out there doing that work and writing those tickets. So I appreciate what you're doing. It's a great report. Thank you.
And I'll go to Counselor Aller, then Counselor Guerin.
The chair, the clerk's department tracks the tickets that are issued by the commissioners and the OPP, so we can provide that information if council requires it.
Well, is requiring it. I have Counselor Aller, then Counselor Guerin.
Chair, the method of breakdown, compliant breakdown, or complaint breakdown, sorry, it says that you've got 75 phone calls for complaints. Is that phone calls to you or to the town?
Through the chair, this would be phone calls that have been directed to bylaw enforcement, to me, or to one of the other officers, and that was how the case was initiated. So however that case started, it started with a phone call from a member of the public as a complainant. That's how that was logged in the statistics.
Are you guys asking residents to use the report a problem system?
Absolutely. We definitely want to get the complaint direct. Having that information is very important for us so that we can follow up with the complainant and get any more relevant information, any follow-up basically understand the issue much better rather than getting it through a third party.
Councillor Garren.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll start out by just thanking the bylaw enforcement team. I know it's a thankless job out there, and I get it. I appreciate the reports. I think the reports coming every 6 months are helpful. I probably ask this question every time you bring it to me, Mike, but I need to ask again. When you say 382 or how many calls came in or violations, if it's more than one on the same thing, you're counting that as one, right?
The chair, that's correct. Just how we initially got the complaint and began the investigation. We may receive 5 complaints later on down the road. However, they are not impacted in these statistics.
Thanks. And then when you say 23 remain actively investigated, is that because at time of report, they were still open, or is that because they just haven't been resolved because they're just ongoing, they're not compliant, we're trying to get them to comply, or is it just a combination of all?
Through the chair, that's because at the time of this report, its creation, they were still ongoing. We have cases open and close every single day, constant turnover of active and closed cases. So it just was the time of this report being generated, that's all.
Question is, I don't think we, as a council, have ever given direction to change the way we do things. But I know we've voiced opinions in the past about being a little more proactive than just relying on the calls that come in from the public and to respond at that time. Are we out there, and when we see something, are we going to the doors of those properties and trying to educate them and telling them about the situation, or are we simply still just waiting on the call to come in from a neighbor or a resident? Are we somewhat more proactive or not?
Madam Mayor, as indicated in the report, it clearly states where we are proactive and how many. So yes, like grass, we don't necessarily wait for a response from property owners. We're proactive. We just go in, give a list to our contractor. We cut the grass. But going back to your previous question, the 23 or 25 that are still being investigated, they could be due to appeals. It's going to be heard. So that involves more time. Some of these cases could take 6, 9, 12 weeks to resolve when they go into appeal.
Councillor Garren, any other members of council wishing to speak to this? I think it's great to see more proactive bylaw enforcement out there. One just little note that for the public is I am getting complaints about the new report a problem and how you have to input an address. And if you don't have the exact address, you have to drop a pin. But I think it's hard for people on a cell phone. I'm not sure if any other members of council are getting complaints about this, but I just wanted to bring awareness here to see if something needs tweaking in the future. Okay, looking for a mover and a seconder that the building and bylaw report be received. Councillor Allard, Deputy Mayor Shepley, anything else? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Planning subdivision agreement for Colchester Heights residential subdivision. We also did get correspondence from John DeMarco. That will be a part of the motion to include his correspondence. So looking to see if Ms. Rita Jabor.
The report in front of you is recommending that council enter into bylaw number 2462, which is a bylaw to enter into a subdivision development agreement between Colchester Bay Incorporated and the Corporation of the Town of Essex. We did want to provide council with some context on the application just to refresh their memory. Back in September of 2024, September 23rd, there was a council meeting where members of council and the public were provided with information regarding a proposed plan of subdivision known as Colchester Heights. A follow-up report to council was presented on November 4th at one of their regular council meetings where council provided support for the subdivision with conditions. Council had requested that the developer host an information session with area residents directly abutting the proposed subdivision and ward councilors. And that meeting was held by the proponent on December 5th, 2024. Following that, the county planner issued notice of decision on the subdivision on February 10th, 2025, including various conditions as proposed by the town, including the installation of a fence along abutting properties, dedication of land for a park, and the completion of various drainage improvements. And the development agreement is now being presented to council as a condition of that draft plan approval. Thank you.
And just to paraphrase the letter that we got today, citing, restoration opportunities as part of the new county official plan. Do you know if the proponent, which will now be, we are amending Horizon to be Eco-Friendly Homes Ltd. Do you know if Eco-Friendly Homes is looking to do, or Horizon Eco-Friendly Homes is looking to do any restoration opportunities on the site?
I'm not aware of any restoration opportunities on the site. I did review the letter from Mr. DeMarco, and the area of land that he has indicated for restoration is actually part of our drainage easement. So that is going to be free and clear of any buildings and structures, and it may also need to be free and clear of vegetation. So it is something we can consider in that easement language too.
It's a start. It's a start of a conversation, and I think we need to have more conversations like that. So I want to thank you for your letter. Questions, comments from members of council? Looking for a mover and a seconder that the planning report be received. Also that the letter of correspondence from John DeMarco be received and also sent to Horizon Eco-Friendly Homes, and that bylaw 2462 being a bylaw to enter into a subdivision development agreement with Horizon Eco-Friendly Homes and the Corporation of the Town of Essex be read a first, second, third time, finally passed on July 21st. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady. Any other questions or comments from members of council? All in, Councillor Mady.
Just to bring attention to the fence again. I don't know, for us to start wrapping our heads around and planning for it. We're gonna have a fence along the backside of an easement, and then we're gonna have a section where we're not able to build anything, and then we're gonna have people's yards. I just seeing a problem with cutting that grass when these people want to put up a fence and whatnot. So I don't know what we're gonna do when we get to that, but it's just a problem I'm kind of seeing on the horizon there.
Thank you, Councillor Mady. That is noted. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Retention and disposition of records. I'll get a mover and a seconder. We'll get the report on the table, and then Director Malandrucolo could speak to it. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze, that the legal and legislative services report be received, and that bylaw 2463 being a bylaw to establish the schedule, retention, and disposition of all records maintained by the Town of Essex to be read a first, second time and provisionally passed on July 21st, and that council delegate authority to the clerk to establish and amend retention records schedule for the records of the Corporation of the Town of Essex. And Director Malandrucolo will speak to it briefly.
The Municipal Freedom of Information and Personal Protection Act requires that each municipality has a records retention bylaw. This establishes the timelines for us to maintain our records. We can't dispose our records until the records retention bylaw allows us to. Most of these timelines are in accordance with legislation. We're required to hold things for a certain period of time. Some of it is town determined. It just allows us to deal with records properly.
To Director Malandrucolo. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Appointment of an engineer under Section 4 for a new petition, needing a mover and a seconder that the report be received, and that Spirit Associates London Limited be appointed to prepare a report under the Drainage Act through Section 4 to establish new drainage works. Mr. Nucio is on Zoom. If we have any questions, we'll get a mover and a seconder to get this on the table. Moved by Councillor Guerin, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Bye, Norm. Hi, Norm. Bye, Norm. That's carried. Economic Development 2025-10, Building Report and Development Overview. Director Chadwick is here for questions, needing a mover and a seconder that the Economic Development Report be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Capital Works and Asset Management Engineering Services for South Talbot Road and Maidstone Avenue reconstruction. Looking for a mover and a seconder that Capital Works and Asset Management report be received and that council award engineering services for South Talbot Road and Maidstone Avenue to RC Spencer Associates in the amount of $138,078.15, including non-refundable harmonized HST, needing a mover and a seconder. Counselor McGuire Blaze, Counselor Allard, any questions to Mr. Macbeth? He's here if we want to ask him any questions. Counselor McGuire Blaze.
Thank you through the chair. I am very happy to see this moving forward. Once we go ahead with tonight and it passes, what are we looking at timeline wise? So we're going to get engineering done, and then are we looking to get this in budget for 2026 or 2027 or beyond?
Through the chair, the earliest that this project could be on budget would be for 2027. By the time that they get into doing the survey, the detailed design and everything, it would be a late 2026 project. And at that point, we'd probably get worse pricing if we tendered it late in the year. We're better off to have it tender ready for budget approval in 2027 and get out early in the year, or get maybe potentially early budget approval. That would be the soonest. I believe, though, that the project is scheduled for 2028 in the 5-year capital plan. So that would be up to the discretion of council to move it up off of the current approved plan that was presented to council last fall. Thank you.
When we tie this together, can you just remind me, does that also, is this project, this intersection, this street, obviously the walkways along South Talbot, does it go Maidstone as well? Like finish off that walkway up Maidstone? Is that also included here?
Through the chair, it does include the trail along South Talbot from the Cipher Systems up to Maidstone Avenue, and it does include the trail on Maidstone Avenue from South Talbot up to Allen Avenue. We already have the section from Allen Avenue up to Talbot Street North being designed by a different consultant under the storm sewer project that we have ongoing.
Oh, no. Oh, I thought I saw your hand.
Well, no, I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else? All in favor? And opposed? That's carried. Okay, moving on to special event notice, open air at Daisy Co. live and uncorked with Jody Raffoul. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the community services report be received and that council approve a temporary noise exemption to accommodate the entertainment for their open air live and uncorked, and that council approve closing King Street between Queen Street, Victoria, and the town of Essex on Friday, August 22nd from 6 to 10 for the open air event, and that council approve the open air Daisy Co. significant event status for their event. Moved by Councillor Allard, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Councillor Hammond.
So I'm to understand this is a private company wanting to close down our street for a for-profit evening, I'm guessing? Is this what we're approving? Like, I don't have a problem approving for, something that's benefiting the town and stuff like that, but I have concerns when we're closing the street for one particular business. Can I get some?
Sure. Director Morissette.
Through the mayor, so we don't have anything in our special events that prohibits a for-profit event. We do have things like the McGregor Mug Run. They're very similar, and they do a run on the road as well. So we shut down a section of the road for their event as well. So it's very similar to that. It is not it's not a ticketed event. It's open to the public, so anybody can attend. It's just essentially what they're looking for is an outdoor music event with an extension of their patio so that they can serve alcohol.
Out to a few of the vendors in the area, and luckily they don't have any problems with the street being closed on a Friday night, since we don't have a lot of traffic anyways, but I don't want to see us get into a routine where we're closing the street every other weekend for somebody else to have an event.
So any new events that are coming through would seek council's approval for those anyways. So if that's council's appetite, as long as from an administrative perspective that we can host the event, from a safety perspective, we'd bring that forward for council's approval.
What about the costs associated with the event to the town?
Through the mayor. So there's minimal expense for the town. We would have to provide them some barricades so that they can close down the road. And we already have facility staff that would be working in the evening anyways. So we'd pop by just to check in on things and make sure that everything's going smoothly. But it'd be very minimal cost impact because they're already on shift. There's no dedicated staff that would be working for the event.
I do understand where Councillor Hammond is coming from. I think it would be nice to do it once in a while, and I think a lot of the businesses in Harrow people will go there to eat and have a beverage and maybe check out Harrow. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Reports from our youth members.
For this week, thank you.
To report the Essex Fun Fest 5K, we donated $10,000. And then the Joy Club, we are still going strong. We'll have our next meeting on Friday, and then we have a couple events coming up in the summer, so you'll start seeing us around at some local events. Thank you.
That's great. When you have your events, be sure to email us so we know. I'm kind of out of shape this year, so I didn't do the 5K, but maybe next year. Okay. County Council update. Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this will be a much reduced county council report based on the time tonight. County Council celebrated its 233rd birthday. The land rent at our recent council meeting, we heard from a delegate who spoke about the ongoing concerns faced by residents, many of which were in attendance in the land lease communities, particularly around rising rental costs. Prior to that meeting, Mayor Bonnie and I had an opportunity to meet with MPP Anthony Liardi to discuss the matter. I'm pleased to share that shortly after our meeting, residents received a letter outlining options available to them under the Landlord-Tenant Board to challenge the rental increases. Council also formally voted to receive correspondence on the issue and approve any noted actions from the town of Essex. This continues to be an important matter, and I want to thank the residents who brought their voices forward and continue to advocate for fair treatment. County Council also supported construction of the Windsor to Lakeshore transmission line. And lastly, Council received an update on the distribution of the Canada Community Building Fund. The County of Essex has chosen to go beyond the province recommended 50-50 split by allocating funds on an 80-20 basis, 80% to local municipalities and 20% retained by the county. This means the county will keep $2.5 million, while a total of $10,100,000 will be distributed to local municipalities based on the 2021 census data. The allocations are as follows. Amherstburg received 1.2 million, Essex 1.1 million, Kingsville 1.1 million, Lakeshore 2.1 million, LaSalle 1.7 million, Leamington 1.5 million, Tecumseh 1.2 million. This approach reflects a strong commitment to support local infrastructure and community building priorities throughout the county. Thank you, and that's County Council report.
One quick thing I just want to add, if anybody is following planning matters, there is an annual planning report. It's new. So there's a report and it shows how all of the municipalities in the county are developing, how many applications are in the queue. So it's good to see where we sit. We are the slowest developing municipality, but yeah, it's good. If you want to take a look at it, it seems like everybody's a little bit slow right now, but the county is definitely busy in terms of volume, but okay, motion to receive the County Council update. Councillor Allard, Councillor McGuire-Blaze, all in favor? I just made that one up. Correspondence to be received. Looking for a mover and a seconder that all the correspondence is received in item 13.1. Councillor McGuire-Blaze, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Does anybody want to pull out any correspondence? We did only get 2. Still more support from West Nipissing and Trent Hills on strong mayor powers. Correspondence continues to come in with municipalities opposed. Correspondence to be received and supported. The Coaches Association, go to Director Malandrucolo.
Correspondence from Coaches Association of Ontario asking council to consider proclaiming the week of September 15 to September 21, 2025 as National Coaches Week in the town of Essex be received and supported. And if supported, that council proclaim the week of September 15 to September 21, 2025 as National Coaches Week in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Whereas the town of Essex recognizes the tremendous positive impact coaches have on athletes and communities. Whereas the purpose of National Coaches Week is to provide the 300,000 coaches who call Essex and Ontario home with the resources, representation, and recognition they deserve for the time they devote to ensuring Canadians live an active and healthy lifestyle. And whereas we celebrate the many amazing coaches who live and volunteer in our communities for their selfless commitment to their athletes and participants by saying #ThanksCoach.
All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Therefore, I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Town of Essex, do hereby proclaim the week of September 15th to September 21st as National Coaches Week in the Town of Essex. 13.2.2, Town of Essex National Drowning Prevention Week, July 20th to July 26th. Needing a mover and a seconder that we proclaim it. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Hammond, and Director Malandrucolo.
Correspondence from the town of Essex asking council to consider proclaiming the week of July 20 to July 26, 2025 as National Drowning Prevention Week in the town of Essex be received and supported. And if supported, that council proclaim the week of July 20 to July 26, 2025 as National Drowning Prevention Week in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Whereas the mission of Life Saving Society Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in Ontario is one too many. Whereas most drownings are preventable in a water-smart community, and only through water-smart education and a healthy respect for the potential danger that any body of water may present can we genuinely enjoy the beauty and recreation opportunities offered by these bodies of water. Whereas the Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of the town of Essex to actively supervise children who are in, on, and around the water to refrain from using substances like alcohol or drugs while participating in aquatic activities, and to always wear a life jacket when boating. Whereas the United Nations General Assembly passed the UN Resolution on Drowning Prevention A-75-L.76 and named July 25th of each year as World Drowning Prevention Day. And whereas Life Saving Society Canada has declared July 20 to 26, 2025 National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problem and the hundreds of lives that could be saved this year.
In favor? Any questions? That's carried unanimously. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Sherry Bondi, do hereby proclaim July 20th to 2025 National Drowning Prevention Week in Essex, Ontario. I also want to thank members of our administration for hosting a Water Safe Day at Colchester Harbor this last weekend, and there's always room for improvement. So 13.2.3, Amherstburg Freedom Museum. Looking for a mover and a seconder that we receive and support the correspondence and celebrate Emancipation Day on August 1st. Moved by Councillor Mady, Councillor Guerin, Director Malandrucolo.
Correspondence from Amherstburg Freedom Museum asking council to consider proclaiming August 1, 2025 as Emancipation Day in the town of Essex be received and supported. And if supported, that council proclaim August 1, 2025 as Emancipation Day in the town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Whereas August 1, 1834 was the date that slavery was abolished throughout the British colonies by King William IV pursuant to the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, and whereas within 15 years of the abolition of slavery, between 35,000 and 40,000 black settlers made their way to Ontario in large part by the Underground Railroad in southwestern Ontario.
Questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Therefore, be it resolved that as a demonstration of our respect for human liberty and freedom, and in recognition of the richness of culture and history brought to Ontario by African Canadians, do hereby proclaim August 1st, 2025 as Emancipation Day in the town of Essex. Committee meeting minutes. 14, looking for a mover and a seconder and to adopt as circulated all of the committee meeting minutes 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6. Moved by Councilor McGuire Blaze, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Nothing under financial and, or new business. We do have a notice of motion.
The following notice of motion was presented at the July 7, 2025 regular council meeting and is being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. Moved by Mayor Bondi that council direct administration to review the town's property standards bylaw and return with a report proposing any changes that administration determines is required to improve the bylaw's relevancy, effectiveness, and alignment with the community's needs, and that such review incorporates public consultation and education.
Seconded by Counselor Mady. Mayor Bondi, would you like to speak to the matter?
Thank you, Chair Shepley. Just looking to see if there's willingness from council to have administration review our property standards bylaw and have some public consultation. It seems like it's one of those bylaws where, you know, either we're enforcing it too much or we're enforcing it too little. And I think it's time to do a check-in with the community and say, you know, do you want 4 cars parked on your front line on the grass, or is that okay, or is that not okay? And if it is okay, then we leave it. And if it's not okay, then we need to look at staffing levels. I think the timing's good because bylaw is moving into legal and legislative services. So I think it's a good time to do a review and touch base with members of the public and get feedback from council and education for us to understand our property standards bylaw as well. That's all.
Seeing none, all in favor? That carries, opposed? Or that carries.
Councillor Verbeek's notice of motion is going to be postponed until Councillor Verbeek is back to speak to it. The following notice of motion is for presentment only and will be brought forward for council's consideration at the August 11, 2025 regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor Mady that administration be directed to prepare a report outlining the current process and policy for upgrading municipally owned but unassumed roads with a focus on roads located in the Colchester area. The report should include a list of roads currently under classification, clarification on options available to residents under the Municipal Act's local improvement provisions, including petition requirements and cost-sharing expectations, an option for one municipally owned but unassumed road to be brought forward annually for consideration during the town's budget deliberations, and criteria to prioritize upgrades for roads located in partially developed subdivisions, including but not limited to those in the Colchester area where future growth is expected or encouraged in the town's official plan. Also, to be brought forward for presentment only tonight and to be considered at the next council meeting is a notice of motion moved by Mayor Bondi that Essex Council direct administration to investigate options and locations for overnight vehicle parking to accommodate cycle tourism. For example, when cyclists come to our municipality/region and need to park for multiple days.
Reports and announcements from council members. We'll start with Councilor McGuire Blaze and we'll work our way around this way.
Nothing to report.
To build on the life-saving and drowning event that we had at the harbor, I was able to talk with some of the members from the Colchester Guardian, and I just wanted to remind any able-bodied seamen out there that if they wanted to volunteer, they are looking for some volunteers. They could use the help to bolster their staff.
Requiring a third and final reading, bylaw 2460 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 7th, 2025 regular meeting of council. Needing a mover and a seconder that this bylaw be read a third and finally passed on July 21st. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Guerin. Questions? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw 2439 being a bylaw to delegate the duties and the powers of council of the town of Essex. That bylaw 2439 being a bylaw to be read a third, finally passed on July 21st. Moved by Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor Guerin. Director Malanjukulo is going to speak to changes.
Since our last meeting on this bylaw, I was able to meet with Councillor Mady, Councillor Hammond, and I also consulted with Councillor McGuire Blaze. Following our consultations, we removed 2 areas from the bylaw. So 15.14, the removal of holding of the zoning bylaw amendment, and 15.15, the surplus dwelling zoning bylaw amendment changes. Those were both reverted back to our enabling policies and in the draft OP, and will be dealt with that way going forward. So if there's any questions, I can answer them, but otherwise, I think that that this is a bylaw that council could support.
Further questions on the delegation of authority bylaw? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Good work, council and administration working together. Bylaw 2447 being a bylaw to provide for the Shepley Drain Bank repair improvements in the town of Essex, to be read a third and finally passed on July 21st. Moved by Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councilor Allard. Any questions? All in favor? Or any question? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2448 being a bylaw to provide for the Snyder Drain Replacement Bridge, MN 10901, 10th Concession Road in the town of Essex, to be read a third time, finally passed. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor Hammond. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Bylaw 2457 being a bylaw to amend 1037 for the lands municipally known as 265 Maidstone Avenue East from the Development Reserve District 1.1 to Residential District 1.1 to request relief from subsection 14.b and subsection 10.3e of the zoning bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor Guerin. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Bylaws requiring a first, second, and third reading being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease between the corporation of the town of Essex and Joe Calamaria operating First Defense Martial Arts for the operation of a martial arts service and storage space in the lower level of the Essex Rec Complex located at 242 Talbot Street North in Essex. Moved by Councilor Mady, supported by Councilor Allard. Questions? Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Through the chair. I don't have any problem with this lease or this thing. I just have a problem with the wording of it. And maybe I'm wrong, but I did run it through ChatGPT and they had a problem with it too. And it comes in yielding and paying therefore as follows. And that first number one, it just reads wrong. I initially read it as the term shall be a sum of $738.92 plus HST payable in 12 monthly payments of $800. So to me, when I read it, it just sounded like at first, well, it's $738 paid over 12 months. And then it says, but it's $800 per month. So that's not, if you were happy with the way that it reads, that's fine. But to somebody else reading it, it really does. I really thought that it was $730 a year.
Amend the wording to make sure that it's clear that it's per month. Okay, that is a friendly amendment. We have a mover and a seconder already. Any other questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Bylaws requiring a first, second reading, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2322 to designate community safety zones within the corporation of the town of Essex. That bylaw 2465 be read a first time, second time, and provisionally adopted on July 21st, 2025. Moved by Councilor Hammond, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2467 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 21st regular meeting of council be read first, second, and provisionally adopted today on July 21st. Moved by Councilor Allard, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. And needing a motion to adjourn the meeting. Councilor Hammond, Councilor Mady, any questions? Going once, going twice. All right, all in favor?